Welcome to a review of a Commodore Classic. Have I got a treat for you today? Let's type in those magic words, run, and it's Jak Attack, baby. Jak Attack. One of the best platform arcade games ever on the Commodore computers. Out originally on the Commodore 16 and the Commodore 64 as well. You can see 1983, year of release, although I don't believe it was published by Commodore until 1984. And Kevin Keeler and John Trainer were students at that time, and they pitched this to Commodore, who said, "Thank you very much. This looks like a great game and we would like to buy it." So came to a good arrangement there, obviously. Well, I hope it was good for those very smart students, because this is not just any old game that was released in 83, 84 with really basic game design. This was brilliant. And look, it's even giving you a tutorial now as we go through. It's telling you that you are Jak, that red critter with the stamping feet and the wiggling antennae, using the joystick to move, telling you how you can do things and manipulate the blocks so you can move them, but your enemies can't. And you'll be finding out more about your enemies in this game shortly. The manual doesn't really talk much about the backstory in Jak Attack. It's really just into the action. It talks about the mechanics and scoring and things like that, but it doesn't say, well, Jak comes from the planet X and he has to defeat the spinning balloons of death from planet Y that are out to get him because of reason C, etc., etc., etc. So none of that nonsense in the manual. It's really short and brief. And Jak Attack is just one of the best games ever made. The C16 and C64 version look pretty identical to me, although some people say that the C16 version is a little bit better, although the C16 version, others say, is faster. So you be the judge. To me, they look and they play identical. So this game did not use hardware sprites, unusually, because the Commodore 64 had them built in, obviously, but the programmers said that they didn't need them. So that's fair enough. They knew what they were doing. And originally this is rumoured to have come out on the VIC-20 as well. So more on that later. So when you start the game, you can pick any level through 1 through to 9, 1 or 2 players, but each takes a turn. It's not simultaneous. There are 64 levels and each has been designed brilliantly, and you'll need a strategy to beat each of them. Level 1, as you're about to see, the attack begins, is really quite simplistic. It's really just an intro level, but you can see there are blocks. Not many sounds in Jak Attack, but what's there is functional, does the job. So you can kill the balloons by jumping on them, or you can kill them by squashing them with blocks, or you can push blocks onto their heads. Number of ways you can take care of those balloons, but bear in mind, if you get it wrong, they are going to squash you. That is their function. They seek nothing else other than to rain on your parade and to bring your demise about as quickly as possible. So it's up to you to thwart them as best you can. And it can get pretty hairy when they're all coming after you, let me tell you. They also have a habit of changing direction, which can catch you by surprise. Now, there's a time limit. If you complete the game inside a time limit, you get extra points. I've not done so in this example, but that's okay. Level 2, we're introduced to the platforms for the first time. So the platforms are a really cool element in Jak Attack, because I get extra points now if I can jump on all of the platforms on the screen. There are only 2 in this case. If I manipulate the blocks, it's a pretty straightforward thing to be able to get both of them, and I get those extra points. Thank you very much indeed. Now, nothing else remains except for me to squash as many of these balloons as I can and to get rid of them. Beware of them dropping on your head when you least expect it. And as I said, they can change direction on you, and also their speed. So they have different speeds, and obviously can come from the left or come from the right. Change that, and also the height of their jumps can alter as well. So a few tricks to get you, and I want some extra time, so we're going to get a little bonus there on this occasion. Now, I mentioned there was 64 levels. Each has been brilliantly designed. There is so much thought that's gone into each of these levels, and you're going to have a great time with this game. It looks simple, sure, the graphics are simplistic, but I think they're tidy and neat. They're functional, they do their job. The sound is sparse, and I think that's why, if you look at it, it can look a bit simplistic at first. Zap 64 in their inaugural issue only gave this 58%. Now that is a travesty, if ever there was. I mean, to me, this is a 97% game back then. 97% and a gold medal, and even now I think I would still give it that, because it's not a game that has aged really badly. I've got to pull this block aside to try to get that last platform, then jump up here and jump on the yellow. I didn't make it in time, but that was me being a little bit slow. It's not as easy as it was in my youth. Now, I was lucky enough to get this in the Commodore pack back in the day, which was a blue bag that sold in the Australian shops for a real bargain price as well. I think the Commodore 16 sort of was a bit of a strange invention. The Commodore 64 was already about, sort of came out as a 16 plus 4 kind of pseudo business machine. Weirdly, oddly, Commodore made all the peripherals have different attachments, but this worked out pretty well for me because my mum, in her kindness, she got me the Commodore pack in the blue bag that came with the Commodore 16 in its box. Also came with a data set, a joystick, and of course it came with Jak Attack. So never mind that the Commodore 16 didn't have a great library of games. It had one of the best games out there ever on any of the Commodores. So I mean, I think of the CD32 and all these incredibly powerful Commodore machines that came later, and they didn't have anything that was anywhere near as good as Jak Attack. So it's not just about the hardware, it's about the game design, and they didn't come any better than Jak Attack, let me tell you. So I really should be trying to get these platforms, not just cleaning up the balloons, but I will have a go at doing that now. So let's have a go and try that. Let's just get this one as well. Now I really need to keep this balloon alive actually, because I want to try to get this platform over here. Oops. Can I do it? Yes, I can. Oh no! It just disappeared. As I said, those reflexes of my youth. Now that I'm in my 50s, I just don't have them anymore. Anyway, as I said, absolute travesty that this only got 58% when it was a gold medal every day of the week. It's sitting on 7.1 with Lemon, with about 26 votes. Zap to the Past, those fantastic lads, Adrian and Graham, they haven't reviewed this one yet. I've got no doubt they'll go back and review it at some point, and I hope they love it, because they do get good game design. And this had 64 levels that were brilliantly thought out, and I still think the design stands up to this day. Also, a really good review on ARG Presents, so big fan of that that podcast as well, and the Amigos. So the Brent and Aaron review this, and the Brent gets it. That's all I can say about the Brent. The Brent gets it. So saw past the simplistic graphics, the at times not twitchy controls, but you don't always feel that you've had the response you wanted, but I'm okay with it. I think once you get used to it, they are fine. But the Brent was on the money, and Aaron didn't mind it, but the Brent loved it, and the Brent knows a good game when he sees one, can I say. So got that spot on, I think. So yeah, looking forward to the Zap to the Past review, and can't wait for that. In my book, Escape from the Commodore 64, I mentioned this game is the game that pulls both Reese and Sarah into the computer. I mean, there was no other game it could be. It had to be this one. Jak Attack's such a memorable game for me, and I guess I remember my mum coming back with that pack, and I was so excited, and it was one of the best days of my life. And I played Jak Attack for days and days and days, and other people had their Commodore 64s. I had a mate with a VIC-20, but you know what? It didn't matter. I was super stoked with this. Obviously, the 16 was more powerful than the VIC-20, but I would say that the VIC-20 probably had a better game library with Radar, Rat Race, etc. And if they had have got Jak Attack on the VIC, that would have been amazing. Apparently, the source code is out there. Kevin Keeler has said that they did it. It was on a 4K cartridge. Commodore never released it, and look, maybe because allegedly the VIC-20 version looked as good as the Commodore 64 version. Find out more on the games that weren't. Go and have a read for yourself. But yeah, that's a really interesting point that no hardware sprites and fairly simplistic graphics and sound, I guess there's no reason why the VIC-20 version couldn't look as good as this. So I would love to see it on the VIC. Anyway, it would just be a fantastic thing if it ever does see the light of day. Alright, so we're going okay so far. We've still got our lives intact. You can see up on the screen there we've got a bit of information such as the score, how many lives, player 2 score if there was a second player, and information down the bottom. High score, which is my pretty pathetic high score there actually from earlier today. What level I'm on, the time limit counting down, and of course platforms. Water, as you've gathered, is also your enemy in this game. In fact, you don't have many friends. It is Jack against the world, or the world of smiling balloon assassins at any rate. So yeah, such a great game. There's so much more to it than just squashing the balloons. You've got to see if you can beat the time limit. You've got to see if you can also get the bonus points. A different strategy or approach is needed for each level because they're all different. And I just love that about the game, and it's such a devious game in its design. I think they really must have enjoyed what they did creating this, and it still stands up. I don't think you'll be able to beat it without pausing the game, but hey, let me know how you went with Jak Attack. Maybe you can beat it. Maybe you can do better than me getting to level 40 something back in my heyday. But I didn't have a sort of freeze frame reset type cartridge that lets you go back. Wish I did have one of those. Not even sure there was one for the Commodore 16. I got this for the 64 as well, I believe, on cartridge again. Now, you may have also heard the rumour, well, I believe it's true because Commodore Insiders confirmed it, that when Jack Tramiel, the founder of Commodore, got upset with you and had what was known as a Jak Attack, this game was named after him. So that's a bit of an insider thing for Commodore, I guess, that they would have known. I'm not sure that Jack would have known about that, and had he have known, I'm not sure that he would have been too happy about it. Anyway, it's not known if he knew about it, but if he did, he certainly never mentioned it, or it's not captured that he mentioned it anywhere. But another little bit of trivia there, that if Jack was upset with you, normally you would know about it, and this game was named in, I guess, in Jack's honour, if we look at it that way. Certainly Jack did like to smile, and this red Jack creature is smiling, so they've got that in common anyway, at a minimum. But yes, so I did mention that Cubic Critters, original name, I believe that it was renamed Jak Attack because Cubic Critters was considered to be too close to Q*bert. So Q*bert being an interesting arcade game that came out back in the day. Definitely not like Jak Attack. Jak Attack is a far superior game to Q*bert in every way, and I say that respectfully. I've met the creator of Q*bert, and a very, very nice fellow. And Q*bert was a great game for its day as well. But yeah, they didn't want this getting confused with Q*bert, so Cubic Critters had to go. I like that name though. I think they did really well. Look, that pretty well brings us to a close, I think, of the review. There's probably not too much more to cover, but in the comments, tell me your sort of experiences with Jak Attack. Maybe you've got memories of this game from your youth. Perhaps you played it and enjoyed it back in the day. And how far did you get? Were you able to beat it? I certainly wasn't, but I'd love to hear those stories. And this is one of those games, every time for me I end up smiling from ear to ear. Cop that, he just got squashed by the balloon, and it kind of served him right. I'm just going to call it there and say it was his own fault. Oh, and I lost a life. But still one to go. Yes, so very keen to hear if you've got any sort of memories of Jak Attack, good, bad, or otherwise. I feel like I wasn't into the pirating scene back with the Commodore 64. I only had originals. I remember one of my mates sort of met me and was very surprised to see all the cassettes in the box that I had, and he was very surprised, and so was his wife, and they said, all originals, and I still didn't at that time know what they meant because I wasn't into pirating. Of course, later I got into pirating. I don't say that with pride, but that was more on the Amiga than the Commodore 64. So Yeah, so I guess when I had a game, I tried to make the most of it because I'd laid down money for it. But I'll be honest, if it was a really bad game, I would take it back to the shop. Hello, Knight Rider. Hello, V. Yep, that's right. And you know what? I think it served Ocean Software right, and I hope that, yeah, I hope that I cost them a bit of money in having to deal with those returned tapes that were faulty and didn't load. Ahem, ahem. And look, by the end they didn't load because you would cover up the corner of the tape and you would wipe them, but that's just what you had to do. But you didn't have to do that with Jak Attack because it was on a cartridge anyway, but it was such a good game. I mean, I got it for free with my Commodore, but you know what? I would have been very happy just paying, uh, I don't know what a good price was. $30 back then, back in '84, I would have been happy paying that for this because such a good game with so much replayability. Well, I think we might leave it there, and I won't continue on to level 11. I'm sure if I continued on, I would get through many more levels. Probably not, but I hope you've enjoyed seeing and hearing a bit more about Jak Attack, and I hope you give it a try for yourself. If you've never tried it, then go and give it a try on emulation and just see if you enjoy it. I think that you'll get a lot out of it, and I think it's a game you'll come back to many times to just see how far you can get and see what type of score you can get. I'm sure you can beat the score that I've sort of set here today, 10,444. But yeah, I look forward to hearing your stories. David Hearn Ryder signing out, and this was Jak Attack. Bye for now.